Catherine, thank you for taking time today from your busy schedule to talk to us. Super excited. Uh, can you quickly share a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. So my name is Catherine Krna. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer of Ambulatory Care and Service Lines at Stanford Healthcare here in the Bay Area. So I'm the executive responsible for our outpatient practice. If you've seen a Stanford physician, chances are that the individuals supporting you in the clinic are a part of my respective team. My family has been out here in the Bay Area for the last 7 years. My husband, Matt, and I have 3 children, 13, 11, and 9, all of whom were born in New York City, where I was an executive at a healthcare system hospital for special surgery.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do for us. Keep us safe. You have had such a successful career. How did, growing up, how did you think about your career? Did you have a certain framework in mind, how you will approach it?
Sure. So, growing up, I'm the daughter of two attorneys. I did not have a clear sense of what it is that I wanted to do really until post college and maybe even postgraduate school. My mother did stay home and removed herself from the workforce to raise myself, and I have a younger brother and sister. And only once I became a parent was it clear to me how prescriptive my parents' decisions were in how they split responsibilities in our home. So my father was up at the crack of dawn and in the office, by 6 or 7 a.m., but he was always home for dinner. And I realized that I took that for granted growing up, that sort of magically happened. But since, again, on the other end of parenthood myself, realized that those were very deliberate trade-offs and choices that my parents made in creating the type of family that they wanted to create. I grew up and did the things that I enjoyed, and so not until college and then again business school did I make my way into healthcare as my commitment in terms of my career choice. And I certainly didn't think about, if I were to become a parent, how I would go about balancing work and family. That only happened after I became a parent, as opposed to my taking learnings from my own childhood and thinking about applying them to my future family life.
As you have the 3 kids and you have looked at your own upbringing, right? How has it been managing career and kids together?
Sure. I think we're getting better at it. I have to say that there's so many things that I would have done and conversations that I think my husband and I would have had prior to starting a family. But I think, only now after, for almost 14 years being into it, do I feel as though we're hitting our stride. There's just a number of trade-offs, especially when both parents work. And so a lot of learnings over the course of the past 14 years as to how to work together most effectively. And as I think we've learned, what you can do to plan, even for the unplanned, which inevitably happens, whether you've got, infants at home, and certainly as, infants become toddlers and eventually teenagers. So can't say that we do it perfectly, but we're certainly better at it now than we first started. And I wish I had gotten the advice of friends whose children were a little bit older than ours at all various stages, but for whatever reason we seem to go it solo in the early stages anyway.
So what would be an example of one thing that you wish you had known earlier?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One is just what can be controlled for and what cannot be controlled for. So we've always been blessed with fantastic caregivers. I learned very early on not to sweat the small stuff and to try to outsource, whether it's laundry or dishes or whatever it is, those things that inevitably can be outsourced. But the thing that I look back on that I wish I could get that time back is the time that I spent frustrated with the things that I couldn't control. So my baby spiking a fever and feeling torn about being there, certainly in the early days with the doctor, as opposed to having my nanny do that. The skinned knee at school, where there's an automatic necessary, pickup from school. And my gosh, over the course of COVID, talk about the unexpected in terms of Zoom school, not Zoom school, Zoom school, not Zoom school. So, fast forward to 14 years later, I've learned not to let what is the unpredictable inform my day in a negative way, but just to kind of smile, shrug my shoulders, and work the problem. Parenthood is more unpredictable than it is predictable. And for those individuals who, like myself, pride themselves on great executive functioning skills, that can get you part of the way. It cannot get you all of the way. So don't sweat it, and hopefully lean in with your partner in a way that, hey, if one of your children needs you, one of you, and both of you have a board meeting, how are you going to figure that out together and talk about it before, so that when it happens, it doesn't feel like, well, whose work is more important? Whose board meeting is more important? So again, just having talked to people that had already experienced it. I wish Matt and I had done more of that. But again, the good news is that we've sort of lived our way into at least our answer more recently than I care to admit.
I know I had to step out once from a board meeting because of a child emergency. So.
And the reality of that is the stakes are not that high. I mean, especially in my 30s and in my early 40s, when I was in a different stage of my career, I thought, oh my gosh, the world is coming to an end if I have to stop my presentation. And the reality is that it is not. It is most definitely not. And I don't think anybody, especially as they watch their children grow up, go to college, get married, think back on, wow, I wish I had, finished that 30-minute presentation as opposed to stop to make sure that my child was okay. And so I think, at least speaking for myself, I over-embellished the importance of something that can more than be mitigated, even if it stops the board meeting or stops the presentation. Nothing's more important than the family. So.
As you have gone through this career, phenomenal growth, having 3 kids, if you were to reflect back, right, what changes would you like to see in the world?
Yeah, it's a benefit or not. I graduated from school. I went back to business school very early on and got a quick start. So as I like to tell people, I was given a lot more responsibility and latitude at an earlier stage in my career than perhaps I had earned or deserved. Fast forward to today, where I'm a senior executive, and I have been for the past 15 years at my past employer and my current employer. There is still very much a stigma around working mothers. I continue to have individuals say to me, and I don't think it's always intended to be a compliment, how do you do it? How do you do it? And when I'm getting the sense that that's not intended to be a compliment, validating my executive functioning skills, or the fact that people know and I'm proud that I have a close relationship with my 3 children, I press them on it. So, wow, you seem to be suggesting that maybe it's too much for any one individual to do. And while that often sets people back on their feet, I'm bold about it, because if the insinuation is that having a family is a distraction, that's very concerning. And it's certainly concerning for individuals, men and women starting their respective careers. So I would really like to see corporate America validate that it is not a stigma. It is a reality of a circumstance if individuals want to start a family. And I finally think that corporate America is realizing that it's not about just having, men and women because we like women and women are 50% of the country or whatever the percentage is, but better business decisions are made with a diversity of opinion. And I would say that about gender. I would say that about race. So many different qualifiers where historically we talk about it, diversity for diversity's sake. That's super important, but also how about the business decisions that we're making being formed by multiple decisions? And so if we begin to craft the narrative from that standpoint, then it would be not only about diversity, which who can be not supportive of that, but also about just good corporate practice and good business decision making. So hopefully both a commitment to reducing the stigma for parents, across the spectrum, but then also more examples of, female-led companies is great, but how about just diversity amongst executive teams and boards and companies benefiting from validating and embracing that diversity of thought.
Cool. No, really appreciate you sharing your journey, your story, what a remarkable journey you have had. You're an inspiration for so many women, so many men out there. Thank you for that, Catherine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.